Okay, I apologize for the last video I did on the tips and techniques of bullet journaling. It got truncated somehow. I guess YouTube did that to me, and so I thought I'd share the last 7 minutes of the video or so. Um, I had to start from scratch because I couldn't figure out how to truncate the first part of the video and just show you the last part. So I'm just going to spend the 7 minutes or so that it would take to figure it out and just do it. Here's my pet green cheek conure, Basil. He's kind of a Superman, and he's the second love of my life at the moment. Of course, my husband's the first love of my life, and so I just did kind of a dump of, when he was born and all that kind of stuff, just to keep track of all that. And then all of the kinds of words that he says. And he's really good at saying, "Scratch my head." And he's learning "darling" right now. He's So I like to keep track of the kinds of things he talks about or says or tries to say. I should mention that in the first YouTube video that I did, I talked about the first part of my book, which covers October, and it covers basically what I'm going to be doing each day of weeks, and also the habit tracker that I created. And I wanted to enter something in it right now while I'm thinking of it. Whoa, I just lost the page. And what page was that? I have to put this down for just a second and get that page back. Here we go. This is the page. I wanted to record in here that I got to bed incredibly late last night, which is not a good thing. And that would be, I went to bed, and here we are on Friday night. You can't see any of this. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not working. Okay, I went to bed Friday night at 2 a.m. Oh, that's not good. And you know what? I'm not going to make it fancy right now. I just wanted to get my memory recorded. I can always make it fancier later. And so today is the 19th. All right, there. And I'm just going to put 2 a.m. And I woke up at 9. And you know what? I had a really good night's sleep, so I'm going to put very good. I was surprised. I feel rested. It's a beautiful day. So there's my very good. Okay, and coffee I'm still in the midst of, so I can't talk about how many cups of coffee I've had yet. So back to Basil. So you get the idea that this is maybe if you have children or something like that, you could put a page for each child, or 20 pages or whatever you want. The next page has to do with my dream lifestyle, and that's completely blank now. So I haven't really gotten into that at this point, but I know we've been doing, my husband and I have been doing a lot of thought about where we want to retire, what we want to do. What will we do? We're going to have a lot more time. We both work full time. And then I started thinking about the dream locale, because we keep talking about moving. He hates the cold, I hate the heat. And the first thing I found myself doing was plotting where our families live. And this made me think that any dreams of moving out to the west are by the wayside, or even Florida. I think we're going to stay as local as we can to one, or his family or my family, or to compromise and do something in between, maybe. Florida's impossible. We could definitely do the snowbird thing. But having a bird does kind of stifle that a little bit, but I think he would really love it. So this is just a thought process that has really helped clarify in my mind what I want to do. And that's one of the joys of doing this bullet journal, is that you can really start thinking about what it is, what your hopes are, that you can start to make reality out of. This probably shows the bullets better than most things. You can see them. And maybe I didn't show them quite as well in other pictures. Dream home. I'm going to be pasting pictures here, but not now. I still have a year to start thinking about that. And I just started to do a brain dump of dream home criteria, his and hers, what are our musts, what are our shoulds, what are our nice to haves. And you know what? It might turn out that we actually through this process decide that we don't want to move at all. And then I have here what the kinds of things I actually hate, and I had to get them down before the things I love. So this is a work in progress, as you can see. This next page is about packing. Every time we pack, we have to end up recreating this list, or at least I do. I think Dan has most of this stuff down in his head as my husband, but I found that this is very useful to try to keep everything all in one place, and having an index I can refer to this constantly. How many times have you gone out of the house after a trip and forgot to reset your thermostat, or you're worried about faucets leaking, or the thing that drives me crazy is you close the garage door 99% of the time, but you forget, so you have to drive back after a couple blocks to verify. So we have this point now that we both verify that the garage door is locked and closed when we leave. And then we go into craft goals and craft projects. And I have 3 going on right now. And just share you. Here's one. It's a pink sweater. And there's my pink sweater. And I've got to keep working on the various number of stitches, because I have this all on another piece of paper that's stuck in my knitting bag, and it's just a straight piece of paper, and I'd like to really codify what it is that I actually did, and what I was happy with, and what I need to improve on for the next project. The next project is, and I haven't started this yet, but I know I'm inspired to start it, and it comes from this Florence Temco knitting book that I have. And isn't that cute? I really want to get started on that. Now, this is not the most beautiful rendition of it, but that's pretty close to remind me of what it is. So I've started spinning all the yarn for it, and there's a lot of it right there, but I need to keep going. And I recorded where I got my yarn from, because sometimes it's really nice to know. The next page has to do with some gifts for my sister. I want to make her some flip-flops that I have made myself that I really enjoy. And here's an example of them. It looks really kind of gross, and it is really very basic. But I love this sandal that I created, and all it is a cheap flip-flop, and I put chamois, like, you know, like what you buff a car with, that chamois leather. I just sewed it all in, and then I created using hemp, I created stitching along the sides that I crocheted, and then I stuck the knitting using a seed stitch, a whole bunch of yarns, I think 2 or 3 yarns put together, including plarn, which helps give it some of its rigidity instead of just flopping down, so you can slip them on easily. So that's the project, and I had to lay that out and inspire myself by drawing a picture. Music. I play several instruments, and I have to really work on these pages. But as I say, you know, you find out what you emphasize in your life by deciding what pages to work. But I know I want to do more with this, and I will get there eventually. The garden, well, it's October right now, so it's too late to really start a garden, but I just stuck it here because I'll probably transcribe it to another book in the future, and I'll plot out our upper garden and our lower garden and discuss the seeds that I purchased and where I place them in the garden and all that stuff, because that's something I always forget, what I've planted in my garden, because I just sort of throw things in. I like this page a lot. I found myself putting it in and just thinking about time and how valuable it is. So I put my clock there, and I put a little quote in the bottom here from Benjamin Franklin: "Dost thou love life? Then do not squander time, for that is the stuff life is made of." And that made me start to think about all of my time wasters. And you probably have the same situation where you find yourself, you might not think of it, but you realize retrospectively that you have just wasted a heck of a lot of time. And here's some of the ones I have: watching Amazon Prime, browsing real estate ads for that dream house that I'm really not ready to buy. Reading the New York Times, especially the comments. The comments they'll suck you in. You'll want to read every comment, and it turns out to be, in retrospect, a complete waste of time. Looking at Craigslist, I just have a lot of fun looking at the pets and just free things and appliances and all this stuff. I don't know why. And also cleaning the bird cage. I think I need to buy buy a different cage because mine's kind of a pain in the neck to clean. But so the point of that is, the minute I stuck this down here as a brain dump, now I realize I can start working any of those items and doing something about it. And some of them could even become a monthly challenge, which I discussed in my first video, how I made myself a monthly challenge and how I stuck it on my habit tracker. And here I just have a little inspirational thing about what you can do in just a few minutes. And again, it's a brain dump, and I'm not working this page, but it's nice to kind of remind myself that, you know, as I'm flipping through my BUJO, that there's a lot I can accomplish when I just have a few minutes of waiting time here and there. Here's my honey-do list, and I haven't started it, but I wanted to make sure it had he does and you do, because most things, if I want him to be doing something, I had better contribute to the occasion. I haven't started that yet, but I will at some point. And now I have to refer back to my index, my trusty index that is, as you can see, I'm already overrunning it, and that's why I have these post-it notes here for where to find pages. And I want to refer to page 38. What page is that? 26. Okay, page 38. To just summarize what I wanted to talk about here. So here it is. Things I've learned in the first week of my bullet journaling. Number one, keep it simple. But you do need inspiration, so use decoration sparingly. You don't want to be spending a heck of a lot of time with stenciling. The stencils are fun though. So spend this $7, or probably can get something a lot cheaper, and get some stencils. They'll inspire you, but they will be a huge time sink. It is so much simpler to just doodle in black pen in your book. So just pulling out a stencil to do something, it's a time sink. Handmade doodles are great, and they're you, and they express who you are, so don't try to worry if they're not very artistic. The index, as you realized from the fact that I had to refer to it, they are helpful. In fact, I believe they are necessary with a book of 80 pages. So make sure you make room for it and use the space carefully. Brief titles would be fine, just something that would remind you of what it is that you want and what page it's on. I page numbered, and I realized after I had spent a lot of time making these fancy page numbers through stencils that was kind of a waste of a time. All I had to do really was create a little tiny handwritten number, and that would have been perfectly fine. Actually, I found that I really only need the right side of the page, because once you get onto the page, then you can figure out which side's more relevant to you. So and that's a little time-saving technique maybe. And lastly, the habit tracker is utterly important, because that is what you can reflect on and really get involved in on a daily basis to see what the kinds of patterns of your habits and what's improving and what's going off track. And it's a great way to self-reflect and to improve yourself. So that's the